So I ignored every red flag that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in front of me, married him anyway, cried every night for 3 years. And the worst part is I could have avoided it all with one conversation. Today I'm sharing the exact question that would have saved me and 5 follow-ups that would have exposed this problem for me so quickly. Could have avoided all the pain, didn't have to go through all that, pay for the wedding, have kids, have this traumatic post-divorce thing, didn't have to happen. And this way, if you know it, you won't have to go through it. Because if one more sister tells me, I wish I knew before my nikah, I'm gonna not know what to say anymore. So grab your notebook. This is the episode you wish you found sooner.
Welcome to the Mindful Muslima Speaks podcast, a safe space to learn and grow into the best version of yourself that you're always meant to be. I'm your host, Mindful Muslima, a mom of 5, big sister to the community, and a licensed educator with 25 plus years and supporting tens of thousands of Muslim women worldwide. Now, I'm excited to share a ton of solutions to your problems on love, relationships, life balance, reconnecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting back on track, and more. So grab a cup of coffee and close out those tabs. These next 20 to 30 minutes are all about you. Let's get started. What if you could know exactly what to say? The questions, the reveal, the red flags, everything. What if you could do that? We're doing a giveaway, completely free. I'm not asking you to join anything. I will give you 1 year of coaching for marriage. You're not going to need a year. It takes only about 90 days to learn everything. So when you find them on the app, we can go back and forth about, and I'm doing this with you, holding your hand. I'm there with you navigating your family, his family, not alone. Totally free. This is something that usually is like 12,500 USD. In the UK, it's about like 10K GBP. All you have to do is fill out the form and show up the day to see if you won. I cannot wait to make this year the year that you get married.
So before we dive in, I went on YouTube and I noticed that only 50% of you that come every month are actually subscribed. Why is that important? We're actually trying to save the marriage crisis in the Muslim Ummah. Look around at how many people are trying to do that. Not many. So it's really important that we can keep putting out this content to reach more people like you that actually need it. So it takes only 1 second. Hit the subscribe button. It'll allow us to make more of this content and help more people be part of that solution with us together. Excited to do that with you. Now, back to the content you actually came for. All right, so picture this. It's 1998. Yes, I'm dating myself. And I'm sitting across from Mr. Perfect on paper. Why? My stomach is doing flips. My butterflies I'm having of all kinds. I don't know. Something's kind of off, but everyone's gushing. My family loves him. He seems really impressive. He has all these accolades. He says all the right things, but me, I ignore my gut. Completely ignore it, even though I know something's not right. I say yes. Then, 3 years later, I'm on my bathroom floor at 2 a.m., baby in the other room, pregnant with the next. I'm an absolute hot mess, and I'm crying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why didn't I see this coming, right? That's what hit me like a truck. I did see it coming. I did. I just didn't know how to interpret what I was seeing. Now, fast forward to today. Good news is I'm no longer in that marriage. I'm now married to my best friend of like 20 plus years. We travel the world together. We work out together. We're foodies, and we love to do a ton of things together. So life got better. So that's not the end of the story. In fact, I have 5 kids, my 8th grandchild on the way. Yes, also dating myself. I've helped at least 30,000 women with this process of spouse seeking. But last month I met a sister named Amina. She came to me and she felt kind of that way I did back when I was first searching. And she's like, what am I doing wrong? I asked her to show me your vetting questions, and they were a little something like this. Do you pray 5 times a day? Do you want kids? Like, what's your current position? Like, where do you want to be in 5 years? I mean, she had all these pretty basic questions, but I stopped her, grabbed her, and said, any liar could pass this test really well. Let me show you what to do instead. And then I showed her this that I'm going to show you. All right, so let's get into some better ways to know. Like, these are the things I wish I would have asked and checked. Now, I did know that when I was asking things, he was doing them wrong, but I should have had better questions. These questions would have told me fast. These questions would have saved me time. They will save you time. They will make you not in the same position that I was. You don't have to get married to the wrong person. You don't have to end up with kids that you're then dragging into another marriage that you're trying to get married. So I've got you. Let's dive into question number 1. So first of all, don't use yes or no questions. Try to do open-ended questions always, unless it's like really necessary. And what you're going to think about is a question like this. I have them all on a list right here. I'm going to read them off for you, right? Tell me the time you last had a disagreement with someone close to you. family member, close friend. What happened and how did you handle that? And by the way, I want to model something for you right now that I usually do in coaching. When I hear people say, this sounds like an interview, I'm just like, then you're saying it wrong. So let me show you the difference. I'm going to pretend I'm reading something right now that is like an interview. Ready? Tell me about a time when you had a disagreement with someone. They were maybe close to you. What did you do? See what that sounds like? That was so lame. If you can say it in a more natural way, no, it's not like an interview. And yes, it somewhat should be like an interview, because those of you who are looking for a Hollywood drama, that's not how you do it. And that's probably why you're having trouble. So let's do something that is neither an interview and neither like a Hollywood, Bollywood, or Korean drama that is not going to actually get you marrying the right person. So let's do the middle way, right? Have my question here and I'm looking at it and I'm just going to say it natural. Okay. I'm not going to like stare them in the eye because obviously they're not my husband, but I'm just going to, just say it genuinely. Can you tell me about a time when, or I could preface it by saying, I really want to learn more about you and kind of like what kind of a person you are so I can understand. Can you tell me about a time when you maybe had a disagreement with somebody, like who was a close family member or friend? What happened and how did you handle it? See, I can sound curious. I can sound like I really would like to know about the person. I'm not flirting with them. I'm not acting robotic and they don't know. So for just FYI, for the rest of these questions, understand you're probably going to have to practice in front of a mirror. You're probably going to have to do this many times if you're a nervous person, if you're an introvert. And that's okay. At the end of the day, you have to learn how to do this. And you will, inshallah. You just need some practice. So the reason this question works, by the way, is liars give vague, perfect answers. Truth tellers have messy answers because they're telling the truth and they're coming up with it on the fly. They didn't pre-plan how they were going to sway around things. So check it out. I had spoken to Amina and I said, well, when you asked him a question like that, what was his answer? And he was like, oh, can't really think of anything. I don't really get into arguments. And I was like, really? You don't really get into arguments? That's a bit lying right there. So that was really easy for her. So she was like, Now, when you get a thing like that, you want to say, you don't want to put it as a red flag right away, but you are like on high alert. And I'll tell you what to do with that in a bit. But that is the purpose of this type of a question. And the reason it's a red flag, almost soon to be, is because any healthy relationship has conflict. That's actually normal. They actually should be able to talk about it. What you're listening for is not, does he have conflict or not? I hope he does. I hope you do. Like we all do if we have feelings. But what you're really listening for is how they handle conflict. Because what are you going to do when they have conflict with you? Don't you want to know ahead of time how they're going to handle you? And that's why this question is so important. So 2 months later, I'm going to use the same question with another brother, Ahmed, and she asked him. And as soon as she did, she saw a totally different response. He told her that he had a disagreement with one of his buddies about something that was really important to him, like a business decision. They didn't really get along about it, but they were each sharing their perspective. And even though he didn't fully agree with what his friend suggested, he told him that. And he was just like, I really just hope he respected that I was going to go my way. And I did. And when it didn't work out, I went back to him. And like the cool thing is like he didn't put it in my face. And so, at the end of the day, we're still friends today. And I can respect the fact that, he gave me that advice and he cared about me. And I think he can respect the fact that like I want to make my own decisions. Brilliant. That man has emotional maturity. The way he described that, he's able to flex in all kinds of ways. That was totally different than the first guy she got. So the other note to say is a little bonus tip is don't lose patience. If you do this and you come to the right guy, you will know. It's not like the first time you use it, it's going to work. The point is that you're using it as a gauge and it works. Now, here's the secret weapon most women miss. After his first answer, you might want to dig deeper. So I have this thing that I do in coaching where I teach follow-up questions. Now, at the end of the day, you cannot use any generic set of questions. I will tell you that. So for example, if you're a person who has these particular boundaries, you do not want to use other people's questions or random question lists that you got online. For example, in the program that I do, I have women first, we unpack everything that they have been struggling with. We figure out like literally within an hour why they've been struggling, something they've been struggling with for 7 years. It's draining, it's dragging, they're almost in tears, maybe I'm not meant to be married. And then we uncover in 1 hour exactly why they're stuck. So then with that, they go, oh, then we go, so what do you want? And then we come up with the boundaries and we take those boundaries and we turn them into the perfect questions to ask to know whether or not to qualify someone. And then we do follow-up questions. So where I'm at right now is I'm going to pretend I had already done that work with you. And we're at the follow-up questions, right? So I have a couple lists right here. So after the first question that we just had with, let's pretend we use the one that we just used with the, tell me about the last time you had a disagreement, we might have some follow-up questions. So let's pretend you didn't like his answer, or you did like his answer, but you just want to make sure. We have some follow-up questions. Watch this. And this I made with another sister. I'm just giving you examples. You may or may not be able to use them for yourself. Depends. I really suggest you come up with your own. We could talk more about that. What was going through your mind when this happened? That's really interesting that you said that. What was going through your mind when your friend said that? How did that change the way you handle disagreements now? Like that situation with your friend, like how did that make a connection with you between that and now? Just curious. Or like, let's pretend it was related to something and a family member was involved. I could say like, what did your mom think about that? How did she handle the fact that you chose that decision? See how I could take that and go a layer deeper. I can go into like what his mind was thinking of and growth mindset. I can go into how he actually does conflict resolution today and how he takes past experiences and uses them for today. And also, I can also think about him and his relationship with his parents and how that affects his decisions and kind of like whether he dismisses them or not. I can get so much out of that one topic if I just go a layer deeper, but you have to know how to be able to do this. I'm going to share with you this one sister that I was working with. She sent me like the actual conversation between her and a guy. I actually love when women do that because it allows me to actually look at the conversation and like understand where she went wrong, he went wrong. A lot of times they send me their Zoom meetings or text or stuff. Just we're working together and they want to know like how they could do things better. So this sister saw that she had this really great relationship in terms of courting, and she thought it was always going well. And then all of a sudden she shares me this message. I'm going to read it right here. She said, "Tell me about your last serious like relationship, someone you were almost going to marry, like not like a haram relationship, like, you know, and like what ended it?" And he says, "Well, she was just crazy. She couldn't handle my success." And then she was like, And then she was like, "Well, what was your part in how it ended?" Because that sounded like he's being victim and he's blaming her, like as if I'm sure the girl would have had something to say about him, right? And he said, "Well, I mean, I was working a lot, but that's what men do." And then she's like, "How did you communicate that to her though?" See that? She wants to know if he was a person who actually took a minute to explain his work situation, or he just like dismissed her and wanted her to just understand and all that kind of, you know, it's really smart because we had gone over that together to do that. I love that about her. And then he said, "Why are you interrogating me?" She was like, that was it. So sometimes the going deeper is so key. And when I think about me at 2 a.m. on the bathroom floor, I avoided those. I knew I should have asked the next layer. And I was like, it's okay. When you want something to work, you force it. Come on. You know what I'm talking about. There's someone you might like and you want to force it and you know something's wrong, but you don't want to push too hard because you might see something you know you don't want to see. So you just pretend you didn't see that too much, or I could fix that. Do you know what I mean? It's really, really dangerous. So that sister, she dodged a bullet. All right, so let's do a really quick recap. Number 1, ask scenario-based questions. They are excellent. Number 2, don't just come up with any list of scenario-based questions. Like, don't watch all my videos. I mean, you can watch all my videos and get ideas, but I know you in the end ultimately need to come up with yours. Why? Let me explain why. Because let's pretend I have some serious trauma from a previous marriage, which I actually did. I really did. I had trauma from that first marriage that I told you when I was on the bathroom floor. I had so much because they had a bit of a narcissistic tendency. I know that gets thrown around a lot, but it is the truth. There was a lot of passive aggression, and I was made to feel like I was a problem all the time when actually they were blatantly doing very wrong things and taking exterior opinions. It is absolutely inappropriate what they were putting me through. So the point is, at the end of the day, because of that, it makes you afraid to love again. Any human being. And I'm sure you have that, right? You have these things about situations that you've had, and you feel like, how am I ever going to know that this isn't going to stop me? Well, it might. That's why the scenario-based questions should also be based on the things that really would like irk your soul. Like, let's pretend you had a really bad situation and you learned from that you like communication means everything to you. Then we need to put those in the top tier of the first sets of questions you ask, because if he doesn't pass that, what's the point? And for guys that are watching, I say the same to you. If she doesn't pass that, what's the point? Like, what is the point? So at the end of the day, that's that. The other one is you want to have at least 3 to 4 follow-up questions on the main big things. So like I say to women, there's probably 4 or 5, or guys can think of this too, 4 or 5 big topics that are huge for you. Like a guy might be like, I absolutely have to feel respected by my wife, or great. I hope you have a question for that. hope it's open-ended, and I hope you can tell if she's really faking it or not. And then you should kind of dig deeper and go into follow-up about that to make sure, like, you don't, like the other sister, find like, oh my gosh, there's actually a deeper issue. This is so good. It works so well. And then all you're going to do is sit back and watch their reaction. The less you say, the better. Don't front end all your opinions. Keep them to yourself. The less you say, the better. Huh. Why did you think that? Interesting. Tell me more about that. Why did he not want you to do that? And how did that make you feel? Okay. Just get them to keep talking, because eventually they're going to start out really like tame, but they're going to start unraveling and reveal a whole lot more. Lastly, I want you to observe people's actions. Again, do they actually follow what they say? If they say, I'm always on time, are they? If they say, yep, always pray, blah, 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 and it's time for prayer and you're there and their families are there and they're not even like looking for a wudu station. You know what I mean? So I don't want to hear, I've heard so many women tell me fluffy stories about guys that they do this and they do this. I go, have you ever seen them do any of that? They're like, no. I'm like, well, I could make a really great story like that too. And I'm not saying anything against guys. Guys do that to girls too. Like, go ahead and check it out. But my point is, what people say doesn't really matter until you see if it's true in action. So take it with a grain of salt, but that is definitely my advice to you. Listen, my first marriage taught me a lot. It taught me that ignoring red flags don't make them disappear, and actually doing this does. I hope that helped. I will see you on the next podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.